Bonjour tout le monde. Morning, everyone. First, I wanted to begin with some words, quick words, because it wasn't the topic of the day. But I think again, as we draw to the end of this session of Parliament, it's important to remember the people in Canada who are being left behind, and will be left behind in a catastrophic way if Parliament doesn't act before the end of this sitting. Please remember that there are low-income workers, low-income people in Canada that are in desperate need of help with their rental arrears. Many Canadians during this pandemic have fallen further and further behind, either because the CRB or the CERB before it simply was not enough. And we know that these are record housing markets that we're witnessing. Those people need help now. They need it in the form of a residential tenant support benefit, similar to the commercial benefit that has been provided. If not, we have been warned very clearly by housing advocates that there will be an unprecedented wave of evictions likely following this pandemic. Secondly, students. Students still do not have their summer seasonal jobs. Students who experienced an unemployment rate of 40% last summer and a rate of almost 25% this year. Those students, like the kind of student I was, who need to work all summer long to pay for their studies and then still end up taking on debt, need help now, and they have none. There is no reason that those students who received benefits last summer shouldn't this summer. Their circumstances are the same. And then finally, the CRB. As I said, the day of the budget, the day of the April budget presentation, and consistently since then, the Prime Minister and his government have no right and no logical justification for cutting that benefit. That benefit is a critical lifeline for anyone that is going to continue to rely on it until our economy is up and running. And it is not up and running. And you cannot live on $300 a week in many places in this country. The people who need this most are low-income, marginalized, and often racialized people, women as well. They need that benefit to remain not only in place at its current amount, but to be extended until the end of the year. Now, the Green Party of Canada, as some of you will know, has been a very loud, very vocal supporter of decriminalization. We were the initial supporters of decriminalization back when no one wanted to touch that as if it was a third rail in politics. We supported decriminalization of the possession of illicit drugs because we knew that it would save lives, because that is what we were told. We were told that by the health advocates, by those working with drug users. We've been told that by coroners. We've been told that by police of chiefs associations. We've been told that by the families devastated by the loss of their loved ones. So we have been saying this for years, and you will know that it was part of our platform in 2019. We call for decriminalization, but not only decriminalization. We also call for the creation of a safe supply, a national safe supply of drugs of choice. Those two elements are the key elements in preventing what has become a pandemic on its own, an epidemic of opioid and drug-related toxic poisonings that has only been exacerbated by the pandemic. Across this country, Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, we are seeing record numbers of opioid-related deaths, record numbers of deaths, and the deaths show no sign of peaking themselves. That wave shows no sign of peaking. It is a combination of factors, many of which have been exacerbated by the pandemic, that has led to these toxic poisoning deaths in many cases. So what are we waiting for? We know that the chief coroner and the government of British Columbia has already asked the government for an exemption from the Controlled Substances Act in order to save lives in their province. What we are missing now is federal leadership on this issue. We should and could decriminalize possession of illicit drugs before this sitting ends. We could do that on behalf of every community who is being touched by this scourge, and because we know that it will immediately save lives. And And then we could move as quickly as possible towards a coordinated plan with the provinces to deliver that national safe supply program. And so this is something that can be done, that should be done. Lives are being lost every day that it fails. And we will be launching a national campaign on Monday calling for exactly those two things and calling for every party to join with us to take the action that they know needs to be taken, and one which I believe there is a great deal of support amongst Canadians for, because no one has been untouched by this pandemic, this other pandemic, this epidemic of deaths. Alors, il y a un nombre record de décès liés aux opioïdes provoqués par l'utilisation d'opioïdes pendant la pandémie. On sait que la pandémie a créé un mélange de conditions qui a créé qui a touché le problème qui existait avant et qui le rend encore pire. C'est une combinaison d'isolation, de la fermeture des centres d'injection et aussi d'un approvisionnement qui devient de plus en plus toxique. En Alberta, ici en Ontario, en Colombie-Britannique, il y a des nombres records de décès liés à l'utilisation des drogues et des opioïdes, exactement parce que l'approvisionnement est empoisonné. Alors, qu'est-ce que nous allons faire en tant que politiciens? Qu'est-ce que le gouvernement fédéral a la responsabilité de faire? Le gouvernement a la responsabilité de répondre à les appels des experts, des groupes civils, des experts médicaux du gouvernement de Colombie-Britannique par décriminaliser l'utilisation des drogues et la possession des drogues contrôlées. Il devrait le faire avant que le Parlement se lève pour l'été, exactement parce qu'on sait qu'il y a des décès records en ce moment au Canada et on voit que le taux monte et monte et monte. Moi, je cherche à représenter une circonscription qui est le centre de la crise de mort liée à l'utilisation des drogues. On voit chaque jour dans notre communauté des personnes qui meurent parce qu'ils n'ont pas accès à un approvisionnement sûr. Ils meurent parce qu'il y a encore un stigma qui est attaché à l'utilisation. Ils ne sont pas les criminels. Ils sont des personnes avec une question, une crise sanitaire. On devrait le traiter comme ça. Alors, j'appelle à chaque parti de nous joindre dans une action urgente et coordonnée pour décriminaliser l'utilisation des drogues contrôlées avant que le Parlement se lève pour l'été. Et ça devrait être une action urgente exactement parce qu'on sait que les gens meurent chaque jour. On dit que, je crois que le taux en Colombie-Britannique en ce moment, c'est à peu près 5 personnes chaque jour qui meurent. There are 5 people every day approximately in British Columbia that are dying each day because we have not taken the action that we could take. So I hope that, again, we will join together to take this urgent action and save the lives that we could save. Thank you very much.
And we'll now take questions, starting with questions on the phone. As usual, one question, one follow-up per reporters. Nous allons maintenant prendre les questions, commençant par les questions au téléphone. Comme à l'habitude, une question suivie par journaliste. Opératrice, avons-nous une première question?
Merci. Please press star 1 if you have a question. Veuillez appuyer sur étoile 1 pour poser une question. Our first question is from David Durkin from CBC News. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. The first question I just want to ask you is any update on how you're going to respond to Federal Council's ultimatum to you?
No.
Follow-up?
Can you...
No, there is no update. No.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. I've been speaking with people within the party who feel that you equating the criticism that you've been receiving as, tantamount to racism, is the simplification of the problems within the Green Party of Canada. they would point to that this issue began with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Palestinians, of course, are racialized people. They deserve to be defended and stood up for. And so what they're saying is that essentially you are weaponizing the issue of racism to silence criticism within the party. So what is your response to that?
Thank you, David. First, I will leave it to our members and to the public to judge for themselves. Unfortunately, because the document was only circulated to counselors, which means that it was one of our counselors who released the document, there is this nefarious list of allegations against me. It is publicly available, and people can take a look at it and judge for themselves whether there are racist and sexist tropes within that document. I'm going to point out again that as soon as our MPs read the document, they were so appalled by it that they both denounced it immediately as inflammatory, as offensive, as a violation of our standard of ethics. And so I am not alone in what I have said. I am grateful to our MPs for having shared their voices and their alarm about that document. I am also grateful to all of the members of our council, because this is a small group of councillors who will be departing within weeks as their terms end. I'm grateful for those other councillors who stood against these allegations for doing so. I should also point out that our MPs both underlined that the document was riddled with all kinds of factual inaccuracies. So I'll leave it up to people to judge for themselves. And David, I take issue with the proposition that this is directly linked to some large conflict between myself and anyone else in our party related to Israel and Palestine. I have put out 2 statements on Israel and Palestine. I have not posted anything else. I have not sought any sanctions against anyone in our party for expressing views different to mine. I did not seek any sanctions against Ms. Atwin, even when she posted on social media something that directly attacked the position of her party as represented by me. So I say that this is spurious, and I also say that given that Ms. Atwin has reversed her position within days of leaving the party, the idea that this was all related to very closely held beliefs related to Israel and Palestine and that conflict. Again, I will leave it to people to judge for themselves. I have been a defender of human rights, and in a concrete way. I have been an advisor in the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, bringing war criminals to account. I have been a diplomat working directly on the file of human rights. I have been the director of EU operations for one of the leading conflict prevention NGOs in the world. And so I have a record that demonstrates that the rights of all peoples are important to me, and that I am prepared to dedicate my professional life to defending those rights. So I just encourage people to please take the time to separate the facts from the fiction, and please judge my record on what actually exists. That is all that I ask, and I think that there's more than enough information if they do that.
Operator, next question.
Thank you. Our next question is from Ryan Tumulty from the National Post. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Yeah, good morning, Ms. Paul.
Good morning.
This document that you're talking about, this allegations letter suggests, and certainly we've heard from Green Party members across the country who are uncomfortable with your leadership. I know these federal councillors, as you say, are moving on, but they have been a big chunk of the party for years. And so far, neither of your MPs have spoken publicly supporting your leadership. I'm just wondering how you move forward with this, with all these questions about your leadership, especially with an election expected, within months.
Well, I move forward in the way that I have today. There are such important issues for us to be talking about. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. And as I mentioned right off the top, I mentioned 4 examples of people in Canada who are suffering and aren't getting the help that they need. Whether it's students who don't have jobs this summer and don't have the benefit that they had last summer, whether it is low-income renters who are falling further and further behind and waking up with the anxiety of not being able to pay their rent and worrying about eviction. Whether it is those who are relying on the CRB and they know that their job is not going to be back on July 26th, but now have to face figuring out how to feed themselves and maybe their family on $300 a month. This day alone in Vancouver, it is entirely possible, in British Columbia, it's entirely possible that another 5 lives will be lost unnecessarily because what we have not done related to decriminalizing drugs. So that is the work that I have been doing since I've been a leader, and I have a strong mandate to do so. I encourage anyone to take a look at social media or other outlets and see the outpouring of support for me, which I'm so grateful for. Our members believe in what I am doing. I can't say that everyone does. I mean, there's certainly, I will be the first to say, of course, there are some members who don't want me to be the leader, but so many do, and there has been so much support coming in from all sorts of sources. Ms. May is undergoing a medical procedure. I can't, obviously, that's not for me to discuss, but I don't want there to be any suggestion that this is a deliberate thing on her part. It's been explained to me, and I understand that. So again, our MPs, when they had the choice whether to support these allegations or not, said very clearly that they were riddled with inaccuracies, that they were inflammatory, that they were offensive, that they were a violation of our ethics. Again, I think that is incredibly clear. And so I think any suggestion that they in any way supported this move, as I said, by a rump group of councillors is simply not correct.
Yeah. So just as a follow-up, yesterday you blamed the Prime Minister and the Liberal Party for sowing division in your ranks. Floor crossings are not unusual in politics. They've been a feature of the House of Commons for years. Should the Liberals have rejected Ms. Atwin's interest in joining their party? Should they have not approached her at all? Where do you feel the Liberals did wrong here?
So I encourage people to take a look at the reporting after Ms. Atwin's announcement, the exclusives behind the scenes related to this decision and how it unfolded directly from Minister LeBlanc's mouth. And Minister LeBlanc is a member from New Brunswick, but he is also the chief political lieutenant for the Prime Minister. In reading those reports, you will see in his own words, in the arrogance of crowing about his success, that he said in his own words that a Green-turned Liberal MP in the ranks will help in Toronto, where the Green Party is hoping once again to make a mark whenever the next election happens. That Ms. Atwin's floor crossing could have an impact beyond the East Coast too, he noted. LeBlanc kept Trudeau in the loop, and the political significance of adding a Green MP to the Red Team wasn't lost on either of them. The Greens had been making steady progress as a political force in the Maritime provinces. All of these things were, and then again, the impact that it would have on our party, again, as telling Green voters that they had a home inside the Liberal Party. And so beyond the reports and beyond the words directly out of Minister LeBlanc's mouth, this is just common sense. When someone crosses the floor, it is always going to create at least short-term damage to a party and to its leadership. That is part of the point. And so in doing so, and particularly this close to an election, they knew that this would undermine my leadership at very early stages for reasons that it would be very hard for me to defend myself against for many of the reasons that I said yesterday. It was what I said yesterday as well. It was cynical and it was craven. Minister LeBlanc, the Prime Minister, should be able to meet our party on the battlefield of ideas. If they are so intellectually exhausted that they can only gain votes from Green voters and other voters by undermining our party in key markets, then they should not lead. And so I say again that the Prime Minister is not a feminist. He is not an ally to undermine my leadership at this early stage in such a willful, craven way. That is not the kind of politics that people in Canada should want to see. They should want to see me in Parliament meeting him on the battlefield of ideas, not the shady backroom deals.
Operator, next question.
Thank you. Notre prochaine question est de Hélène Buzetti, des Coop de l'information. À vous la parole, please go ahead.
Oui, bonjour Madame Paul. J'aimerais savoir quand avez-vous parlé pour la dernière fois à votre député Paul Manley et avez-vous la confirmation qu'il sera candidat à la prochaine élection?
C'est très important pour moi de ma part d'assurer que mes conversations avec les députés de mon parti, de notre parti, restent entre nous. Jusqu'au point que les deux personnes dans la conversation décident de partager cette conversation. La dernière fois que M. Manley et moi étions dans la même réunion, en ligne bien sûr, c'était il y a un jour. Et nous allons parler cette semaine, c'est déjà organisé. Mais c'est très important, comme j'ai dit, d'assurer qu'il y a d'espace pour parler ensemble, exactement parce que la pression et l'attention médiatique ne sert à rien, ça n'aide rien du tout. Alors, j'ai aucune indication de M. Manley qu'il ne veut pas se présenter comme un député vert dans les prochaines élections. Nous avons les indications au contraire. Il avait déjà dit il y a quelques jours son intention, c'est de se présenter comme un candidat pour le Parti vert dans les prochaines élections, qu'il n'avait pas aucune intention de quitter le parti. Et comme j'ai dit, et comme je le remercie, il était très, très direct à condamner ces allégations. Il était très direct à dire que ça ne correspondait pas à les éthiques de notre parti, que c'était offensif et inflammatoire et il ne voulait rien du tout à faire avec ces allégations.
En supplémentaire, vous présumez beaucoup que les résistances qui semblent arriver au parti sont motivées par la misogynie, l'antisémitisme ou le racisme. Mais est-ce que c'est possible qu'il y ait des choses que vous faites qui ne fonctionnent pas? Je pense par exemple au fait que, votre contrat a pris plusieurs mois à être négocié et moi, ce qu'on me dit, c'est que vous exigez un salaire très élevé, un salaire de député, que le parti disait ne pas avoir les moyens de vous verser. Qu'est-ce que vous répondez à ça?
Je réponds que ce ne fait pas beaucoup de mois, mais je suis ici depuis à peu près 8 mois. Les gens peuvent me juger par mon record. J'ai toujours été, et comme j'ai toujours dit, je cherche à être coopérative et collaborative dans notre parti et à l'extérieur. J'ai lancé directement, après avoir été élu, plusieurs initiatives pour créer un parti plus inclusif et plus démocratique, soit dans le recrutement ouvert pour la première fois dans l'histoire de notre parti, de notre cabinet fantôme, qui va être le plus qualifié et diversifié de notre histoire, soit dans le lancement de notre campagne de Faites le saut pour attirer toute une nouvelle génération de candidats et candidates à notre parti. Et nous avons reçu déjà des centaines de postulations à travers cette campagne, soit dans la révision de nos procédures de nomination pour assurer qu'on avait le standard or pour l'accessibilité et l'inclusion. Alors j'accepte. Alors, comme j'ai dit hier, oui, absolument. Je suis une chef, j'espère, toujours qui va accepter qu'elle fait des erreurs. J'accepte, c'est sans doute, sûrement, que j'ai fait des erreurs dans cette situation et je l'assume. Et je suis toujours prête à prendre de mes fautes et de les corriger dans le futur. Ça va être le travail toute la longueur de de ma poste ici. Mais ce n'est pas question de dire que si j'accepte que j'ai fait des erreurs, que les autres choses n'existent pas. J'encourage tout le monde de réviser les allégations et de décider eux-mêmes s'ils ne sont pas des allégations absolument inacceptables, comme avaient dit nos députés et la plupart de notre conseil aussi.
La prochaine question sera dans la salle. Boris?
Bonjour, Madame Paul, Boris Proulx du journal Le Devoir. Si vous aviez pu voter hier à la motion qui reconnaissait que le Québec pouvait changer sa partie de la Constitution, reconnaître que le français est la langue commune et la langue officielle, comment vous auriez voté et comment est-ce que vous commentez le fait que votre député Paul Manley a voté en faveur?
Je vais répondre pour la deuxième part première, par dire que notre parti, nous sommes renommés pour le fait que on insiste sur un modèle qui correspond à notre système. Et c'est un modèle où les votes des députés devraient être pour la plupart libres, où les députés devraient voter d'une manière consistante avec leur conscience et aussi avec les vœux de les résidents de leur circonscription. Nous avons des valeurs partagées comme membres du Parti vert, alors nos députés doivent toujours voter d'une manière consistante qui corresponde à ces valeurs. Mais à part de ça, nous offrons une grande liberté. Il n'y a rien à gagner dans notre système d'insister que les députés laissent leur cerveau hors de salle et qu'ils votent seulement comme le chef dirige. Alors, pour la motion, si moi j'étais dans la salle, j'aurais dit que ça mérite une discussion. Il y a des questions constitutionnelles qui sont engagées et on devrait toujours, comme Parlement, je ne suis pas dans le Parlement, mais comme si j'étais députée, il y a toujours un rôle de gardien de la Constitution pour les députés au Parlement. S'il n'y a jamais une question constitutionnelle, il faut faire le travail. Il faut avoir la discussion, il faut demander une analyse compréhensive et puis après ça, décider. Pour moi, ce n'est pas le bon voie de mettre simplement une motion unanime. Pour moi, c'était quelque chose encore assez... c'était pour mettre les personnes dans les coins, mais c'est une question constitutionnelle, alors ça devrait avoir une discussion complète et compréhensive.
Merci. En guise de suivi, hier, vous avez mentionné, comme les collègues ont rappelé, notamment le racisme, pour expliquer la situation dans laquelle votre parti se retrouve en ce moment. J'aimerais savoir, est-ce que le Parti vert, pour vous, est raciste? Et est-ce que vous avez aussi constaté du racisme dans les questions de membres de la tribune de la presse parlementaire?
Merci beaucoup. Je veux dire clairement, j'ai essayé de le communiquer hier et je vais toujours le communiquer, que les membres m'ont choisi il y a à peine 8 mois pour assumer le rôle de chef de leur parti. Je suis ici. C'est très clair que non, je suis une femme racisée, je suis une femme juive et que aussi j'ai lancé une campagne dans la course à la chefferie sur un slogan de diversité. J'étais très claire que c'était quelque chose d'important pour moi. J'ai en fait fondé la première organisation qui va vraiment cibler à augmenter les nombres de femmes et de personnes sous-représentées, marginalisées, racisées dans notre vie politique. Alors, ils m'ont choisi. Ils m'ont choisi avec une assez grande marge aussi. Alors, ça, notre parti, c'est un parti qui veut faire le travail. Il veut assurer qu'on soit le parti le plus divers dans notre vie politique. Alors, nos membres absolument sont les membres que moi, je les embrasse fort. Je les remercie pour leur soutien à la longueur de ces dernières semaines. Ils sont une partie ouverte, ils sont une partie inclusive. Je suis énormément fière de les représenter. Pour la presse, je vous demande seulement de faire le travail, de demander les questions qui devraient être demandées. Pourquoi est-ce que Mme Atwin, le jeudi, quand elle n'a pas vous invité, en fait, elle n'a pas invité la galerie de presse d'Ottawa à sa conférence de presse, pourquoi est-ce qu'elle avait dit là que moi, je n'avais rien à faire dans l'affaire, que Annamie Paul n'avait rien à faire dans l'affaire, qu'elle me voulait seulement le bien, elle voulait que nous restions amis, que je n'avais rien à faire, c'était seulement pour des raisons personnelles et pour son communauté. Pourquoi est-ce qu'elle avait changé directement le prochain jour tout ça et le lancer à mes pieds? Je veux que vous demandiez quand est-ce qu'elle avait fait ses premiers contacts avec le parti et qui a contacté qui, parce que les dates changent tout le temps. Et ça, c'est très important parce qu'on sait que si c'est tout à cause de les échanges autour du conflit israélo-palestinien, les dates sont importantes. Et je veux vous demander pourquoi on trouve qu'elle mérite qu'on dit que sa parole est la vérité, que l'histoire qu'elle offre, son narrative est correcte et pas le mien. Comme moi, j'étais toujours consistant. Et je veux aussi demander à la presse pourquoi je suis constamment demandé si je crois que nos députés sont antisémitiques. Si il y avait un conflit israélo-palestinien entre moi et Mme Atwin, quand il n'y a aucune preuve que moi et elle a jamais eu une conversation sur ce sujet. Pourquoi est-ce qu'il y a encore cette narrative? Je vous demande seulement de faire ce travail, de poser les questions qui devraient être posées à elle et au Parti libéral aussi, et puis laisser le public à juger.
Last question in the room.
Chris Reynolds, Canadian Press.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, thanks for taking our questions, Ms. Paul. We have a federal council meeting slated for next month, a little over 1 month from now, and that could in turn, it's possible, trigger a leadership review process culminating in a meeting again of the general membership on August 21st. And that second meeting is not conditional. That's going to go ahead regardless of what happens next month at the council meeting. So I guess I'm just wondering, how will you be approaching that General Assembly meeting, that general meeting of the membership on August 21st?
Well, the general meeting of our members is a meeting of as many of the members as can participate, and it's always an exciting moment. And we have delayed ours, of course, had delayed ours because of the pandemic. So, as I said, our members are fantastic, and I have regular town halls with them. One of the things that I did, again, in terms of making sure that I was connected to them was to have regular town halls. That's a regular series. I meet almost every week, several times a week with our local associations. So I'm in direct contact with our members all the time, but this is an opportunity to be in even greater contact. And of course, this is the opportunity for us to, talk about, if it does happen before the next election, this exciting plan to launch a green recovery, to complete the social safety net, and to forge a just society. So I can't wait to have that conversation with them. And what I'm hoping is that we will be given the space to unify before that so that we can have that. And I'm asking again the Prime Minister to back off. And I'm telling him again that, he has reaped what he has sown. And I want to know if he's happy as someone who has called himself an ally and a feminist. So I'm looking forward to meeting with our members. I'm really excited about it. I know they are as well. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I thank them for their support during this period and for giving me the chance to represent them with pride.
And this concludes the press conference. This is all the time we have. Si mais faire la conférence de presse, c'est tout le temps qu'on avait. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.